Mark's ship shuddered violently as it pierced the atmosphere of Arendor 5. The controls screamed under his fingers, alarms blaring like frantic warnings. He had never seen a planet like this, even from the outer edge of known space. Lush green forests stretched endlessly, punctuated by glowing streams and jagged cliffs that seemed to scrape the sky. But there was something in the air, a subtle hum that made the hair on his arm stand on end. He fought to keep the ship steady, but a sudden turbulence slammed it sideways. Metal groaned and sparks flew across the cockpit. The artificial gravity fluctuated and Mark's heart pounded with each violent lurch. Just a little further, he muttered to himself, gripping the yoke so tightly his knuckles turned white. I can make it. I have to make it. Then, with a final roar of engines and a blinding flash of light, the ship crashed through a thick canopy of trees. Branches snapped like brittle twigs. The hull skidded across uneven ground and slammed against a massive crystal formation. Mark was thrown forward, the seatbelt barely holding him. And then everything went black. When he opened his eyes, the air smelled sweet and strange. Flowers glowed faintly in soft blues and purples, their light pulsing like tiny hearts. The ship was damaged, smoke rising in thin curls from the engine. Mark unbuckled himself, pain shooting through his side, but he forced himself to stand. The forest outside looked alive in a way that no Earth forest had ever been. Trees twisted in impossible shapes, their leaves shimmering like liquid silver. Mark stepped out cautiously, scanning for any signs of life. For a few moments the world was silent. Then he felt it, a presence. Something watched him from the shadows. Before he could react, a figure darted from the trees. She moved faster than he could follow, and within seconds a dozen more figures surrounded him. They were women, but not like any women he had ever seen. Their skin had a subtle metallic sheen, their eyes glimmering like gemstones. They were taller than humans, lithe and muscular, with movements that were both elegant and lethal. Weapons, strange curved blades and glowing staffs, were raised, aimed directly at him. Mark raised his hands, trying to show he meant no harm. I come in peace, he said, his voice trembling slightly. The words sounded weak in the dense, glowing forest. The leader stepped forward. She was taller, stronger looking, with silver hair cascading down her back like a waterfall of light. Her eyes were piercing and her stance was predatory. Who are you? She demanded, her voice melodic but sharp, carrying a weight of authority. Mark swallowed. I'm human. My ship crashed here. I didn't mean to intrude. A ripple of murmurs went through the group. The women exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of suspicion, curiosity, and caution. A human? One of them said, disbelief lacing her tone. We have not seen a male for over a century. Mark froze. Over a century? The leader's gaze narrowed. 105 years. Since then, none have returned. You are different. The women's stance stiffened, their weapons tightening. They began moving closer, circling him like predators assessing prey. Mark could feel their strength, their energy. It was overwhelming, but not just physical. It was as if the air itself resonated with their presence. He knew that any sudden movement could be taken as a threat. He took a slow step back, careful not to trip on the glowing roots beneath his feet. I mean no harm, he said again. I just need help. My ship is damaged. I need shelter. The leader tilted her head, studying him. Shelter? You dare ask for shelter after bringing the unknown to our world? Before Mark could respond, one of the women stepped forward aggressively, her blade flashing. We should end him before he causes trouble, she said. Mark's pulse jumped. His hands went up instinctively, but he knew that in a direct fight he had no chance. They were faster, stronger, and more coordinated than he could ever be. Wait, he shouted. Please, I can help you. I can repair things. I know how to fix machines, tools, technology. I can help your people. For a moment there was silence. The air was tense, crackling with the unspoken possibility of violence. The leader's eyes softened slightly, though her body remained poised for attack. Help us? She repeated. We do not need your kind. We have lived without men, without your kind, for over a century. Mark nodded, desperate. I understand. I want to survive, and I can contribute. Let me show you, please. Another woman laughed, a sharp, almost mocking sound. Survive? You do not even know what survival means here. You are fragile. You do not belong. Mark looked around, taking in the environment. The women were not just strong. They were masters of their world. Their architecture was massive and seamless with nature, built into giant crystal formations that pulsed with energy. Tools and weapons hovered with unseen power. The forests themselves seemed alive, responding to their presence. He realized then that brute strength would never earn him trust here. Only ingenuity, courage, and intelligence could. Suddenly, a movement in the trees drew all their attention. From the shadows, a large predator emerged, its body sleek and shimmering with scales that reflected the glowing forest. It hissed, a sound like grinding metal. The women tensed, ready for combat, but they were caught off guard by its speed and size. Mark acted instinctively. He grabbed a nearby branch and fashioned a crude sling, picking up a rock from the forest floor. He aimed and threw, hitting the creature's side. It recoiled, distracted, giving the women an opening. Lyra, the leader, took advantage of the moment, striking the creature with her blade in a precise arc that incapacitated it. The women froze, staring at Mark. He had just risked his life to help them. He was not strong, not fast, but he had acted with courage and quick thinking. For the first time, they saw him not as a threat, but as potentially useful. Lyra stepped closer, lowering her blade slightly. "You are bold," she said. "But boldness does not mean trust. You have survived this encounter, yes, but you have much to prove." Mark exhaled, relief mixing with anxiety. "I will do whatever it takes, just let me try." The group moved away slightly, giving him space. Lyra gestured for him to follow. They led him through the glowing forest, showing him their structures. Buildings that seemed to grow out of the crystal, gardens suspended in midair, and devices that hummed with energy he could barely comprehend. He tried to absorb everything, his mind racing to understand their world. At night, they brought him to a cavern lit by glowing crystals. The walls shimmered in blues, purples, and greens, reflecting in the clear water of an underground pool. Lyra watched him closely as he explored, her eyes never leaving him. "You will sleep here," she said. "But know this, if you attempt to flee or betray us, there will be no mercy." Mark nodded, feeling both the weight of her words and a strange sense of awe. He had landed on a world full of danger and wonder, and these women, these powerful, brilliant beings, were both his captors and his only hope for survival. As he lay on the smooth stone floor, listening to the faint hum of the crystals, Mark thought about his next steps. He had to earn their trust, but how? How could he show a civilization that had survived 105 years without a man that he was not just another threat? The answer came slowly, like the dawn breaking over the glowing forest. He would have to think, act, and create in ways they had never seen before. He would have to be more than human in courage and intelligence, more than fragile in strength. He had to prove that his mind, his ingenuity, and his heart were worth their attention. And if he failed, he knew he would not survive the night. The first rays of the planet's twin suns filtered through the cavern, casting long, golden beams across the water. Mark stood, rubbing his sore shoulders, and took a deep breath. Today, he would take the first step toward survival. Today, he would show the alien women that humanity was not to be underestimated. Outside, the forest seemed to stir as if sensing his resolve. The women watched from the shadows, their expressions unreadable. Lyra's gaze lingered on him, sharp and calculating. She had seen many beings in her long life, but none like this human. Perhaps, she thought, this one might change everything. Mark had landed on Arendor 5 as a stranger. By nightfall, he would begin the long journey to becoming something more than a visitor, something they could respect, something they might even trust. And somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope flickered. Against all odds, he might just survive the world that had not known a man for 105 years. Mark woke to the soft glow of crystals bathing the cavern in pale light. He rubbed his eyes and stretched, still sore from the crash and the chase in the forest. The women had given him space to rest, but he knew that rest meant nothing if he wanted to survive. Today he had to prove himself. He stepped outside into the alien sunlight. The forest shimmered with life as if reacting to his presence. Birds, or bird-like creatures with translucent wings, danced above, leaving trails of glowing dust in their wake. Mark's senses were overwhelmed by color, sound, and smell, but he focused on one goal: understanding this civilization and showing that humans were capable of more than fragility. Lyra appeared silently at the edge of the clearing. Her eyes, sharp as polished gems, followed his every move. "We have watched you," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "You survived your first night. That is only a beginning. You must prove your mind as well as your courage." Mark nodded. I understand. What do you want me to do? Observe, adapt, create, she said simply. We have tasks. If you fail, it will not be forgiven. Mark spent the day exploring their structures under Lyra's watchful gaze. They led him to workshops filled with tools and devices that seemed almost alive. Some machines floated above the ground, held in place by invisible forces. Others pulsed with energy, wires and crystals woven seamlessly into their form. Mark could tell they were advanced far beyond anything humans had made. Yet he could also see gaps, small problems he might solve with his knowledge. A group of younger women gathered near a broken energy harvester. Frowning as sparks flew from exposed circuits, Mark approached cautiously. May I help? He asked. One of them, a fiery-haired woman named Nira, eyed him suspiciously. You think you can fix that? I've repaired machines before, Mark said, kneeling beside the harvester. Just let me try. He carefully examined the device, tracing wires and circuits. Using a combination of human tools and scavenged alien components, he began repairing it. Sparks flew, but slowly the machine hummed to life. The younger women stepped back, impressed, their expressions softening. Lyra watched from a distance, her arms crossed. Mark noticed a flicker of interest in her gaze. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it gave him hope. He was not just surviving, he was starting to contribute. By evening, the women led him to a communal hall, carved from living crystal and suspended over a glowing pool. The hall was filled with a tense energy. Some of the older women, Lyra explained, did not trust him. They feared that one human could disrupt their society that had thrived without men for more than a century. Mark listened carefully as debates erupted. Voices rose, accusations of danger and disruption clashing with arguments about curiosity and potential benefit. He realized that surviving here meant more than physical skill or intelligence, it meant diplomacy. He had to navigate their fears, show patience, and demonstrate that humans could coexist without threatening their way of life. When the argument reached a peak, a sudden alarm blared. One of the younger women shouted, "Predator near the outer forest!" The crystal walls trembled slightly as the sound resonated. Mark's heart leapt. This was his chance to act, to show courage and intelligence together. He grabbed a handheld scanner and ran toward the outer forest, Lyra and a few others following. The predator appeared, a massive serpentine creature with scales that reflected the glowing plants around it. Its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth. The women tensed, ready to fight. Mark scanned the predator, analyzing its movement and size. He noticed a weak point near its chest, a spot exposed when it reared. He formulated a plan quickly. Using a combination of alien tools and his own makeshift devices, he distracted the creature while guiding the women to strike precisely. Lyra and Nira hesitated at first, but Mark shouted instructions calmly and clearly. The predator lunged, and Mark triggered a small energy pulse that disoriented it. Lyra struck at the weak spot, and Nira followed with a precise strike that incapacitated the beast. The creature collapsed with a shudder, groaning before retreating into the shadows. The women stared at him, breathing heavily, eyes wide. Mark lowered his hands, exhausted but alive. Lyra approached, her expression unreadable. You acted with courage and intelligence, she said. And you helped us survive. That is unexpected, Mark nodded. I only wanted to help. I didn't want anyone hurt. A few of the older women stepped forward, nodding in approval. The tension in the hall eased. Mark realized that he had taken the first true step toward acceptance. They had seen what he was capable of, not just as a human, but as a mind able to solve problems under pressure. In the following days, Mark continued to learn about their society and culture. He repaired devices, optimized their farming systems, and even helped design a small defensive mechanism to protect the crystal caverns from predators. Each action earned him more trust, slowly turning suspicion into cautious respect. One evening, Lyra approached him while he worked on a floating energy conduit. You are different from what I expected, she said quietly. I feared your kind would be weak and foolish. But you are. Resilient, clever, and patient. Perhaps humans are not as fragile as I thought. Mark smiled faintly. Thank you. I only want to survive and help if I can. Her eyes softened just slightly. Survival is not enough here. You must show that you can be part of us, not just an outsider. Can you do that? I will try, he said, determination in his voice. A sudden tremor shook the cavern. Crystals rattled and a low growl echoed from the outer tunnels. Mark and Lyra exchanged a glance. A new predator, larger and faster than before, was approaching. This was the ultimate test, a real danger that would require cooperation, strategy, and courage. Mark quickly formulated a plan. He assigned positions to the women, using their strengths to maximum effect. He set traps, reinforced weak points in the caverns, and guided the women through coordinated strikes. The predator lunged into the trap, thrashing against energy nets and controlled pulses of force. The women struck together, their movements synchronized with precision. Mark's mind raced, predicting each move, adjusting the plan in real time. The predator, though powerful, was no match for this coordinated effort. Finally, it collapsed, defeated. The women gathered around him, breathing heavily, eyes shining. Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You have proven yourself," she said, "not just with courage, but with your mind and your heart. Perhaps humanity has value beyond what we imagined." Mark felt a warmth inside. After days of fear, danger, and suspicion, he had not only survived, he had become a part of something extraordinary. The alien women who had lived 105 years without a man now saw him as more than a stranger. He was a partner, a contributor, a mind worthy of their trust. Over the next weeks, Mark's integration into their society deepened. He shared stories of Earth, of human inventions, and of the courage and creativity of his species. The women, in turn, shared their knowledge, showing him ways to harness the energy of the planet, cultivate resources efficiently, and protect their home from threats. Mark realized that this was the essence of humanity, not just strength but intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to connect with others, even those utterly different. The alien women had been cautious, wary, and powerful, but they had also been isolated. Through trust, cooperation, and shared effort, he had shown that a single human could make a difference, even in a world that had not known a man for over a century. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the crystal forests, Mark stood with Lyra on a high ridge overlooking their city. The light danced across the crystal towers, reflecting in waves of colors that made the world look like a living painting. Lyra turned to him, her eyes thoughtful. "You came to us as a stranger, a being we feared," she said. "But you have proven that your kind is more than survival. You have shown ingenuity, courage, and a mind capable of solving what we could not alone. Perhaps this is only the beginning." Mark smiled. "I hope so. I've learned so much from all of you, and I hope I can continue to help, to contribute, to be part of this world." Lyra's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "You are not just surviving here anymore. You belong, in a way that no human has before." Mark looked out over the city, the glowing forests, and the women who had once seen him as a threat. He realized then that humanity's greatest strength was not just physical prowess, but the ability to think, to create, and to connect. In a world that had gone 105 years without a man, he had found a place not through force, but through courage, intelligence, and heart. And somewhere deep inside, Mark knew that this was just the start of an incredible journey, one that would bridge worlds, species, and centuries. Arendor 5 had been a place of danger and fear. Now it was a place of possibility, of trust, and of hope. The alien women, once ready to tear him apart, now stood beside him, allies and friends, and Mark knew that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, shaping a future that neither human nor alien could imagine alone.